Hello, I wanted to offer some more reflections on ministry and leadership in the parish, which I've been doing as part of my journey through the Strategic Leadership Development Programme and relating that to what's been going on in Haverhill and Withersfield and how we're making decisions and exercising leadership together in this place. Last time I was reflecting particularly on power, and we've been working through the book of Exodus as part of our Bible study for these summer months. That's had some interesting reflections on power. There's been some things going on in the church and in the country which have helped us to think about power as well, and in particular how as a church we hold and use power. Well, there hasn't been much to report on through the SLDP. We haven't met since I last recorded a video at Ascensiontide, but lots of updates coming through from my cohort, people who've, through the process, have realised a new vocation or discerned a new role for themselves. People involved in General Synod. I've been watching some of my friends and colleagues through the programme take an active role in promoting and navigating motions through General Synod. And also, with some sadness, some of my colleagues finding that they don't fit in the roles to which they had previously been called anymore. And in fact, one colleague in particular who's been made redundant from her post. And that's prompted me to think about how we use power through our appointments and management structures in the church as well. And I think one of the important things that we realise as a church is that when we exercise power through our ministry and through our mission, it's not just a case of doing something to or for someone else, but there's a partnership, a relationship there that is formed where certain people take certain responsibilities, and there's still a power dynamic. But there has to be some recognition that this is a joint endeavour and that God is working through both sides of that partnership in equal measure. When we look at how God creates us, we have certain responsibilities, and God holds a certain amount of power. He makes us in His image, gives us the ability to hold that power too, but we're not co-creating with Him, but we are participating in a shared relationship with Him to be an active partner in this endeavour to care for the world and build up His kingdom. A partner with very real decision-making capability, but to recognise our dependence upon God, who gives us that space with which to act freely. This week in church we are welcoming children to think about that creation story in their own way through our holiday club that we are running for this first week of the summer holidays. And so this is an opportune moment to think about what Genesis and creation says about our power sharing too. But also next week, one of the things I want to reflect on and perhaps explain why I think it's a good thing we're doing as a church is the public engagement event around local government reorganisation. It sounds like a reasonably niche topic, but actually it is going to have a very real effect on people in Haverhill and Withersfield, how we live, how our community is organised, and what resources there are going to be available to support us. So there's been a decision by central government to reorganise the way that local government is structured, and that principally involves two things. It involves devolving authority to a directly elected mayor for the East Anglian region, and then within that also restructuring district and county councils into a single unitary authority. How many of those there will be across the counties, we're not quite sure, but it will mean that decisions are not split across district and county level, but are all taken by one authority. This is going to change how things work, and it might be seen that this is sort of something done to us by central government. As I said, it's a central government decision. They're holding their cards fairly close at the moment and not telling us exactly how it's going to work, but nonetheless it is going to be down to us, the people of these towns and cities and countryside, and those who are elected to represent us, who are going to have to put this into place and work out how it's all going to work. And that's why I think it is important that as a church we make that space for people to hear and understand what's going on, and to raise their concerns and tell those who might be able to influence the business plan as to how this is going to operate, so that people know where they need to focus their resources and support. Haverhill is one of the few places offering this at this stage. I think many people are seeing this as a done deal, but I think it is so important that people have that opportunity to participate in a dialogue and in a conversation about what is happening which affects them. And part of that is to protect against that power imbalance. Now, although I say that this is something that central government is doing to us, remember that central government is also elected to represent us, and in fact it was local councillors who campaigned government, Parliament, to make that decision, and Norfolk and Suffolk is one of the first areas to explore devolved administration, which the intention is to slowly roll out across the country. So they have that authority to make that decision, but in order to protect against abuse of that authority, I think it's important that we give people the opportunity to talk about what's going on. It's about empowering people, it's about strengthening people, and it's about making the voice of a people in Haverhill in particular who are marginalised on the edge of whatever unitary authorities are created, to let people know that we are here, that we matter, and that we need resourcing and supporting in the same way as any other community around Norfolk or Suffolk. And that is why, as a church, we and I have pushed this event. It's not a consultation, it is an engagement event. We've been very careful about that, but to say that the church is the right space in which to do this, that the church should be providing that space, and the church has the power to do that, to bring the community together in that way. That's something I was talking about in my last ministry and leadership reflection. So it might sound a little bit grand to say, this is about seeking truth and seeking justice in the way that we're called to, but I think that is what we're doing with this event on Tuesday. And already I've heard people notice that Haverhill is speaking up and giving people the opportunity to engage, where other places, even in West Suffolk, aren't. And I think that reflects well on us as a community, and I think it reflects well on us as a church. And it is part of a wider discussion about power and authority, and how that is centralised or devolved, and how in either case we have the checks to ensure that power is not abused. So, for example, I'm very aware that I'm recording this today when the Online Safety Act comes into force, which means that people must verify their age online to view certain types of adult content. And there's a lot of discussion actually about the fact that that is a huge centralisation of power, when up until now there seemed to be a push towards giving that power back to the individual. So in debates such as that around assisted dying, it's about giving people the power to choose their own path. Whereas with this Online Safety Act, all of a sudden the government is deciding what's good for us and what's not. Now, I'm not trying to advocate for the use of adult material, but this is having serious repercussions in all sorts of other ways. So, for example, if you're looking for advice or support about something like domestic violence, that support may very well now be hidden behind a verification wall. And if you are experiencing domestic abuse, one of the things that you may well be experiencing is the removal of your identification and any way of proving that you are who you say you are. So I think this has some very real challenges to us in terms of personal authority and personal autonomy, and how much information and how much power we give to central government-controlled authorities. There's been some trends in the church in that direction as well, and that is very worrying. So we've just had another convention of General Synod, and certain things were discussed there, such as how funds are distributed across the church, and there was a recommitment there at Synod last week to maintain these strategic funds, which again centralises the decision-making capabilities of the whole church, because if we want to access those funds, we must submit our applications, demonstrate our key performance indicators, and match our strategies to those of the fund holders. Whereas the parish structure of the Church of England, on the whole, is there to decentralise and devolve power on the understanding that those who are based in the communities which they are called to serve have the greatest understanding of how to meet that need. And yes, we should be provided with the resources, the support, the encouragement and the accountability to make that happen, but fundamentally we are given the power and responsibility to go out and to be formed by the communities in which we are set. And so I do think it's a worrying trend in the church that power continues to be centralised and continues to be held by only a few key people at the centre of the administrative and legislative structures of the church. And I say that knowing that the strategic aims of the Church of England at the moment are to encourage missional activity, to encourage church growth, and I'm absolutely committed to that. I also say it knowing that here in Haverhill and Withersfield, as a benefice, we don't meet our parish share ask, which is just north of £70,000. We don't even make half that. And that's not out of a lack of desire to contribute to the life of the church nationally or regionally. It's not out of a lack of creativity in mission. That was a phrase that the Bishop of Blackburn used at General Synod last week. It's not out of a lack of wanting to see the church flourish here in Haverhill and Withersfield. but it's simply because we're working with the resources that we are given, and we're trying to serve the people around us in their various needs, with the gifts that God has given us to take care of and to steward. So I hope that this is an opportunity to reflect carefully on how, as individuals and as local communities, we see our relationship with those wider institutions that govern and administer how we operate. And as we take the opportunity to look at the book of Genesis and the story of creation over the next week or so, particularly alongside the children whom we're welcoming this week, let us remember that stewarding the gifts that are given to us is at the heart of our Christian calling. But that also involves using our freedom to challenge structures of injustice and deception and dishonesty and abuse, even where we see them in the institutions of which we are a part. So may that be our cause and our calling this week and at this time, and may God give us the strength and the grace that we need to be faithful to our calling as those entrusted with his gifts of good creation. Thank you.